Do you know the importance of life insurance? Do you even have life insurance? Have you been in a situation where your family is throwing fish fries and cookouts to try to raise money and selling water on the side of the street because they need to get some money because someone passed away and they don't have the funds to pay for it? If so, stay tuned because today is the day we will discuss why it is important for you to have life insurance. Ladies, how y'all feeling today? How your pH? Hi, it's your girl Raven with pH Balance Podcast. And today I have the lovely Miss Trina. Trina, say what's up to the people.
What's up? Hey, y'all. Hey, that's my signature.
So I had to have Trina on pH Balance Podcast because Trina is going to educate us on why it is important to have life insurance. And what exactly is life insurance? Because a lot of people don't know, especially our people. So Trina, if you would introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. So I am Autrina Tillman, self-made entrepreneur. I have been an entrepreneur now for 24 years. And I started my entrepreneurial journey in the life insurance industry. So I started doing life insurance when I was in my 20s. I know I look 21, but I'm almost 47.
You do look 21, friend.
So I started doing life insurance a long time ago. And when I first started doing life insurance, it was actually because my grandmother had a life insurance policy that I know she had for her entire life. And you know how, I don't know if y'all know, back in the day, the seniors would put the white envelope on the back of the door and the debit agents would come around and actually get physical checks or cash from them for their life insurance. And when my grandmother passed away, she didn't have nowhere close to as much life insurance as she had actually paid for. So I started getting interested in life insurance then. And just so happened, the Most High brought somebody to my door, knocked on the door, talked to me about insurance, financial services. And I got into it then. And I got into it in the beginning because I didn't want us to have fish fries and GoFundMe's forever when somebody in our family passed away. So that was my initial reason for getting into it. Now that I'm in it, I know that you can have it for much more than just a death benefit. It's for living benefits. That's how the Rockefellers got wealthy. That's how Walt Disney built Disneyland. That's how JCPenney started JCPenney. Mm-hmm. They started all of those businesses from their life insurance. So It's not just a death benefit anymore.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Before we dive in, Trina, I always like to ask my guests, how's your peace and happiness, your pH today?
My peace and happiness is amazing. You know, I'm a manifester. I believe in the law of attraction. So I just believe that we are able to determine our destiny, and our destiny for me is how we feel, and I feel amazing.
Okay. Well, I wanted to have Trina on again, like I said, because she teaches the benefits of having a life insurance policy and so many more things, right? We'll have her back because she talked. Y'all get a little sneak peek of everything that Trina does. We'll have her tell you a little bit because it will take days for us to talk about all the things that Trina has accomplished and that Trina does. And it's always good to have friends around you that got something going on.
Yes.
Trina got a little money too, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now.
Your net worth is your net worth. Right?
Okay. So, if I ain't never told y'all nothing else, something to keep your peace and happiness balanced is to get a friend like Trina that can educate you, okay?
Oh.
Show you how to do a little something. So, Trina, let's just jump into it. What exactly is life insurance?
Okay, so life insurance is a vehicle that has so many capabilities. The first part of it is just securing your foundation. So, you know, a lot of people want to make $1 million. They want to start businesses. They want to do investment accounts. You know, they want to do all that stuff. What if you started today and God forbid you die tomorrow? None of that stuff has come to fruition. Your children still have to survive. Your family still got to pay for the house, the debts, whatever. So your foundation, the way you secure all that stuff is making sure that you have a life insurance policy. And, you know, it's crazy. I used to tell people all the time when they say, let me think about it. You insure your car. You insure your house. You insure your phone. You insure all these things that's not going to bring you generational wealth, or that's not going to be the security for your family if something happens. But everybody wants to think about if they have life insurance. And the one thing that is a definite is that we going to die.
Right.
So you might have an accident. Your house might burn down. You might drop your phone, but you are going to pass away at some point in time.
And you don't know when.
And you don't know when. So that's a definite. And it just baffles me when people have to think about that. But they pay for insurance for so many other things. So the main thing is making sure your foundation is secure. But there's so many other reasons to have life insurance. It's the only tax-free benefit that you can have. There's a code. I think it's 770 with the IRS. It's either 770 or 7702. Somebody check me on that. With the IRS, life insurance is the only vehicle that there's a tax code that it's not taxable. And when I say it's not taxable, the cash value is not taxable, or the death benefit. It's the only investment that you can pass down tax-free that doesn't go through probate. So if you have $1 million life insurance policy and you pass away, your family gets the $1 million. No taxes. It doesn't matter who you owe. It don't matter your debt. It doesn't matter what your estate says. They get all of it. It's the only benefit. If you have a policy that we'll probably talk about in a little bit, a IUL policy or a whole life policy or something that builds cash, you can pull that cash out also tax-free. So it's a tax-free benefit. It's an investment vehicle. It's a generational wealth building vehicle. We can talk about that a little bit later on. But it's so many different qualities and reasons why you should have a life insurance policy.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about life insurance. Here in my late in my late 20s to early 30s. I'm in my early 30s right now.
I thought you were still 20-something.
Oh, thank you, honey.
Did we think Raven was 12? Okay. I ain't 30-something. Yeah, look at you.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I'm knocking on 34.
Okay. All right, 34. Okay. That melanin.
Yes, hello. But I knew about life insurance. Like I remember I was like 24. My mom called me over like, Raven, come get some life insurance. But I bought it because she told me to.
Right.
I think I was paying like $25 a month or something like that. But then I let it go. I didn't know. I wasn't educated on why life insurance was so important. And after losing someone close to me, I already had a life insurance policy, but I was even more like, okay, I have to get life insurance for my daughter in the case of, me dying. I want to make sure she is financially secure if I'm not here. That's something that I don't know if you guys understand the importance of making sure, or even if you care about making sure if you leave this earth that your children might be okay, your parents, maybe even a friend. But for me, my life insurance policy is very important in the case of me dying and making sure my daughter is well kept without me being here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the different policies that's available to people.
Okay. And I also wanted to pinpoint another reason why it's important to go ahead and get your life insurance is because you get life insurance based on your age and your health. So a lot of times people say, I'll get it later because they're 20 or 25 or 30. Well, it's a whole lot of mental health going on around here. It's a whole lot of high blood pressure going on around here, diabetes. Once you start getting these health problems, it's more difficult to get life insurance. So you may want to get a $500,000 policy, $250,000 policy when you turn 35 and the company says, denied, you can't get it. So you want to get it while you're young because it's cheaper, and then also you're healthy so you can qualify for whatever you want to qualify for. Now, question. Raven asked, what are the different types of life insurance? So I'm going to give you the basics, and then we can go more in depth if Raven wants to go more in depth. So you have the basic term and whole life, okay? So term insurance lasts for a certain amount of time. It's not permanent. It could be a 5-year term, a 10-year term, a 20-year term, a 30-year term, or it could be an annually renewable term, which means you have to renew it every single year. Term insurance only lasts for the amount of time of the term that you paid for. So if you have a 10-year term, and you don't die in 10 years, you outlived your insurance policy, okay?
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
So let's say somebody gets a term and it's for 10 years and it was a $10,000.
Okay.
If you pay that off that whole 10 years, then your $10,000 is gone?
Yes.
Okay.
So term insurance is just that. It's just like your car insurance. If you pay for car insurance and you're a phenomenal driver and you never have an accident, then you just paid State Farm for 20 years and didn't have an accident. It's a just in case. So term insurance is just that. It's for a certain amount of time. If you renew it, you're going to renew it at your new age. So it's going to cost more than it cost when you first got it. But it's cheap, and it's cheap because of that. It's cheap because it's only going to last a certain amount of time, and it doesn't build up any type of cash or investment in the policy. And I'll tell you in a minute why term sometimes still has a place. The other type is whole life. So whole life is permanent. It lasts your whole life. And if you get a level whole life policy, nothing ever changes. So you get a certain amount of coverage, you get it for a certain amount of time, you get it for a certain price, and it stays that way forever. Whole life does build cash value, usually at about 3 to 4%. You can get a little bit more if you're with a certain type of company. We won't have time to talk about all of this. I'll make sure y'all know how to get to me if you want more information afterwards. But whole life is going to cost you more. So whole life and term. So those are the basics. And then you have certain types of whole life. So you have universal life, index universal life. Everybody calls it IUL. I'm sure y'all have heard of that. Variable universal life. Variable means it's in the stock market. And so that's a different type of universal life that builds a different way than just regular whole life. And then you have something called an infinite banking concept that uses whole life and paid up additions. So the basic is whole life and term, and then there's different types of whole life and different types of term.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
Which one do you think is the best to get?
There is no best. So it depends on your situation. So I'll give you an example. If you are me and Raven's age, Raven still has a young child. My children are not as young, but still in college, waiting on my grandchildren to come probably in the next 5 or 6 years. And so it's still important for me that if something happened to me today, that there's a lot of coverage to leave behind for my generations to come. So for somebody like us, I would recommend getting a combination of the two. Reason being, whole life is very expensive. So if you got a $500,000 whole life policy at 35 years old, it's going to cost
About
you
$350.
More than that.
Now?
Yes, it's going to cost you more than that. If it's all whole life. If it's all whole life, not universal life, not term, all whole life, because it's permanent insurance, nothing changes, it builds cash. So that's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost you $400 plus if you're getting that much coverage. But you can do a combination policy and you can get $250,000 worth of whole life and $500,000 worth of term. And the reason for that is the term, you can get up to 30 years. So if I got a 30-year term right now, it would last me until age 77. By 77, my kids and my grandkids better be done figured it out. And we better have some generational wealth built in those trust accounts that we have, okay? So that $500,000 term policy is not going to cost me a lot because it's just term. It might cost me $75, $80. But that $250,000 whole life policy is going to last forever. So even after that term runs out, if I'm 96, they're still going to have $250,000 whole life policy plus, whatever I've been able to invest and build with that policy. So in my situation, I would get a combination so that I could afford it. But it just depends on the situation. In some situations, index universal life is better because you can get a lot more coverage for less money. So the situation that you're talking about, you could get a $500,000 policy, index universal life, for about $250 a month.
So index universal is not whole?
So it's a combination of the two. And it's invested and it's real tricky. So I'm not going to go too deep. But with index universal life, because they're putting a portion of the insurance in savings and putting a portion of the insurance in the death benefit, you're able to get more insurance with index universal life than whole. But The catch is a lot of people use index universal life for the investment part of it because the money builds faster than whole life. The catch is there's a lot of fees in index universal life. So again, this is why it depends on what your objective is. If you come to me and you say, I need a lot of coverage, I want it for the rest of my life, and I don't have a lot of money, then we either gonna talk about term or IUL. But if you come to me and say, hey, I got $50K to put in a policy, I'm doing this for investment purposes, I want to be able to pull that $50K out in 6 months. We're not going to do an IUL, a whole life, or a term. We're going to do a whole life, but we're not going to structure it the same way. I'm going to structure it to where you can get most of that money out, but your death benefit is going to be smaller. So it depends on how you structure the policy. It's really not a best policy. It just depends on your situation. It depends on what works for you, which is why, just like any other career, you want to consult an expert. And you want to tell them what your objective is so that you can know what to do. Raven does lashes. I don't do lashes. I don't watch some videos, looked at some of them magnetic lashes, tried to stick a few on. It ain't gonna work. I have to go to the person that is licensed and able to do this the right way. So anytime you're doing anything that has a professional license attached or something that you have to study, I study this stuff every single year. I do continuing education every single year. I studied this stuff for 20 something years. So just make sure you're talking to somebody, first of all, that you trust, because everybody ain't on the up and up. Some people crooked. Some people will sell you a IUL or a certain policy because they're going to make more money, and that might not be the best thing for you. So make sure you're talking to somebody that you trust, somebody that's been referred to you, and then once you do that and you can trust this person, tell them what you need. Make sure they explain to you what you have, but then go off of that. So it just depends on the situation. Term allows you to get a whole lot more coverage. Whole life allows you to keep that coverage for a long time, and then there's some things in the middle, because some people will come and say, hey, I know this term is going to go away, but I want $1 million. If I die in the next 20 years, I want my kids to get $1 million. In 20 years, I have it figured out. I want term. I know what it's going to do. And I say, okay, if you know what you want, then that's what I'm going to give you. But then some people will come to me clueless, and we'll have to go through what's going to be the best thing for them.
So I came to Trina because I was clueless, right? I was like, Trina, walk me through it. And she was very transparent. And let me tell you something. I asked 1,000 questions, because if I don't understand that, I'd be like, hold up, time out. Back it up. Explain it to me in layman's terms, okay? Because I don't understand that. And she will walk you through it. So if you guys need someone to educate you on life insurance or how to build wealth through your life insurance, Trina is your go-to person. So Trina, can you give us like a success story, or a story that you were like, dang, like this is why people need life insurance?
Yes. So I have so many of them because I've been doing this for so long. So I had one of my clients that was a race car driver. Sometimes it's hard to get insurance when you're in certain industries, but we were able to insure this person. And this isn't even a death. I'm going to tell you something else that you can get with insurance policies. So he was a race car driver. He had an accident. A lot of insurance policies have riders on them. They have chronic, critical illness, accidental death or accidental dismemberment. They have different riders on them. He had a rider on his policy. He did not want to get insurance. His parents was drilling him. You had to get insurance. You're a race car driver, all kinds of things. He did not want to get it. They finally convinced him to get a $500,000 policy. This was probably about 12 years ago. He got that $500,000 policy, and 18 months later, he got diagnosed with cancer. So it wasn't even a race car thing. But he had a critical illness rider on his policy that allowed him to get 90% of the death benefit while he's still alive. And because that's how he made all his money, he didn't have enough money to take him through the process, the treatment, like all the stuff that had to go. But because he had that policy, he was able to get like over $400,000 to help him and his family take care of that situation while he was still alive, because he had that right on his policy. And they still send me people to this day. And this was 12 years ago. So That's one success story. And then, unfortunately, Raven and I have a similar story about a close person that's to us that passed. A person that was close to us that passed away. In recent years. And with my situation, if this person had not had life insurance, it would have just been drastic, because when somebody passes away, you already have to go through the grief and the trauma and the uncertainty. And, what do I do? Especially if you have children. So, people always say money don't make you happy. But I promise you, if you have an emergency or if you have something going on where you have to think and you're in distress, money makes the situation work so much more smoothly. So I had a personal situation where I was on the other end, the other side of the life insurance spectrum. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, when I say my prayers, I thank that person and say, I'm so grateful you was responsible. Right. Because it actually allowed us to be able to grieve and get through everything we needed to get through and not have to worry about that $16,000 expense of a memorial and a burial. Right. So this thing is a game until you actually have to go through it. Right. When you have to go through it, it's not a game anymore. And when you have to do the fish fries and the GoFundMe, it's not fun. It's not fun. It makes everything more stressful. So you really have to think about what ifs. And a lot of times it's not even death. A lot of times it's other things. So you have to make sure you're using these vehicles to secure your family either way. You know,
Black people throw a fish fry in a minute.
In a minute, honey. And then still be $3,000, $4,000 short. And still got to figure out, so let's just cremate them. And you know Grandpa did not want to be cremated. But now you ain't got no choice. Yeah. Now you got to go do stuff that you wouldn't have had to do had you just been responsible.
I believe in cremation.
I mean, I do too, if that's what you want to do.
Cremate me, baby. Listen,
now, if they tell you to cremate them, that's one thing. But it shouldn't be the only option because somebody wasn't responsible enough to. And even cremation done went, everything done went up.
Exactly. So
I've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
Stuff done went up like.
Cremation used to be about $500. Now it's not that.
Now it's thousands.
Yeah. So
yes. Funerals, especially if you had them like at the funeral home, and you used to do a funeral for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Not now.
Now you're not, 10,000 ain't even enough to start.
Right.
So I mean,
so that's a worry that you don't want to have to.
You don't want to have that worry.
On top of grieving.
Like
that's a lot on anyone.
And you want to create generational wealth, because that's the other investment. Like especially melanated people, we're struggling all the time because we got to start at the bottom. Think about if you get a $200,000 life insurance policy, get you a trust, insure everybody in your family, and make the trust the beneficiary. Right. Now, everybody that passes away, that trust is going to inherit that money. Your generations will never be broke again. Right. Like, so start it with you. And that's another thing. We like microwave makeovers, and we only think about today. I've heard it all my life. Well, when I die, they'll figure it out. I ain't gonna be here, so I ain't gonna know what's gonna happen. Yep. Don't have that mindset, y'all. No. Don't have that mindset. Go ahead and get it started. Create some generational wealth so that your grandchildren, your bloodline don't have to worry. And it's so easy. You're talking about spending $50 a month to create generational wealth.
Right. And start them young. I know for me, I have myself an insurance policy and my daughter as well. Mm-hmm. Mine is much more than my daughter's, of course, because I'm not trying to, I just want to make sure, just in case if something ever happened, I'm able to cover the funeral costs. Mm-hmm. I'm able to, not
have to worry about that part.
Right. And then on top of that, maybe I'm going to be depressed. So a lot of people grieve for months. You might need to stay home for a few months and get yourself together. Get some therapy. At least that little bit of income can pay for your therapy, can pay for your bills for a few months and get you through. So I definitely wanted to have. I've been trying to get Trina on PH Balance podcast for some months now, but she's so busy, y'all. I'm trying to tell you.
I'm here. But I'll be back a lot.
Yes. So Trina, tell us a little bit more about how how life insurance can help people gain wealth.
Okay, so Gaining wealth is really big when it comes to life insurance because, again, it's a tax-free benefit and it's a benefit that you can pass down. So like I was saying before, you can get life insurance on anybody. If Raven is my business partner, we can get life insurance on each other. Let's say we started a business together, and let's say we want to make sure that if something happens to me or if something happens to Raven, then that portion of the business is not lost, or she's not struggling trying to figure out how to take care of my part of the business. We can get something called key man insurance on each other. And if something happens to me, Raven can get a certain amount of money, and then vice versa. So you can insure almost everything when it comes to securing your foundation with life insurance. You can get key man insurance. You can get insurance on everybody in your house from the little baby all the way up to 85-year-old grandma. And one of the biggest things that you can do with insurance is you can make sure that you put it in a trust. That's the next thing we got to talk about, Raven. Because what the trust does is it protects your heirs with the insurance as far as knowing what to do with the money. So for instance, we all know you leave most of these kids $250,000, $300,000, $400,000. How long is it gonna last them?
Exactly.
It's gonna last them a little bit of time. So I personally have a trust, and in my trust it says that this amount of money is going to go in the trust. If one of my children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews get married, they get this amount of money. If they want to purchase a car, they get this amount of money. If they go to college, they get this amount of money from college. But the beauty of that is they ain't never got to worry about qualifying for no loan.
Right.
So you're setting your family up truly for generational wealth. They don't have to worry about going to the bank to borrow anything. They can get it from the trust, which came from the life insurance policy. And again, it might take you 4 lifetimes to save $1 million. But if you are responsible, it might only take you $100 a month to create $1 million for your heirs. So it's so much easier to create wealth with life insurance than it is, if you're just trying to save the money and create it. And it's so much easier to create wealth in life insurance because the investments that you're building them tax-free. Mm-hmm. So, there's so many different ways that you can build wealth in life insurance, and it's so much less expensive, and it's something that you can see, you can attain it. And a lot of times, people don't do stuff because the goal looks too big. It looks like I can't do that. That's too much. Mm-hmm. But you can figure out how to not go to Starbucks a couple times a week, or, how to lower that phone bill, or how to do whatever. We sacrifice for whatever we want to say, especially us women. We going to get our nails done, our hair did, our lashes did. We going to get all that stuff done. So we sacrifice when we want to sacrifice. Just make sure we sacrificing in the right places. And that don't mean don't go take care of yourself and don't do self-care and all that stuff. But make sure your foundation is secure first. Right. Because if we have another COVID, if we have another tragedy in the world, if we have anything like that, you want to make sure your foundation is okay first.
Right.
So, just make sure you have that together. And life insurance is a great vehicle to make sure that stuff is together. And even for your children. So like Raven was talking about earlier, you don't have to get a lot of coverage on your children, but you can. So if you have a 12-year-old or 15-year-old, putting $250,000 worth of insurance on them is going to be way cheaper than when they're 30. And guess what? They're going to have a family one day. So if you put $250,000 on a 15-year-old and it's only going to cost you $75 a month, and this is just regular whole life, versus when they're 30, it's going to cost you $300 a month. If you did that at 15, guess what? They already have it when they're 30. So when they get their family, it doesn't matter if they have health issues. It doesn't matter, anything that's going on at the time, because you set that up for them when they were younger, and you set that up for them cheaper. And guess what they have in it? Cash value. So that's another thing. By the time my kids got ready to go to college, they already had 5 figures in savings in their cash value in their policies. So you can get small policies for your kids just to make sure they're okay, or you can get big policies. You can get big policies that's going to grow cash that you can use to buy their first car. You want to make sure that you have insurance for your children for several different reasons. And the main thing is just making sure you have it while they're still young and healthy, because you can get so much more coverage on them when they're young. So if they're 12, 13, 10, even 5 years old, you can go ahead and get $100,000. You can go ahead and get $250,000 whole life insurance and let that build. And by the time they are a certain age, you'll already have cash value in there to take care of certain things. Plus, like I was saying, they'll already have coverage for their family that you started for them that they can take over. Now, if you want to keep paying for it, you can keep paying for it, or you can just pass it on over and tell them to pay these cheap premiums because mom and dad did what they were supposed to do for them. And now they have all this coverage at 40 years old that they're paying a fraction of the price for because you were responsible enough to get it for them when they were young. So good idea to get insurance coverage on your children as well as yourself so that they can take care of their families when they grow up as well.
As you can see, Trina can go on and on and on about this for days. That's why I definitely wanted her to come on. And Trina, tell us a little bit about some other stuff that you do.
Okay. So I've been doing insurance, like I told y'all, over 20 years. But in the process of doing insurance, I have been a coach and an educator the whole time. So literacy is my thing. And one of the things that I learned as I was coaching on insurance companies, I started adopting insurance companies. So I started training other agencies and teaching them what to do. In the midst of that became a business coaching / thing that I was doing. And I was doing it free for a long time until I really learned the business building industry. So I learned how to structure businesses, how to brand, how to fund. And my son, who you all will meet one day, graduated from college. And when he stepped off the stage, he decided he wanted to do photography and videography. And he stepped off the stage with $250,000, $300,000 in business credit. So that's the kind of stuff that I teach. I wrote a book, and my book talks about my journey as me being a single mom for 10 of those years. And all my children have never seen me work a 9 to 5. I've been an entrepreneur since they were born. And the book talks about that journey of how to not sacrifice being a good parent and also building a successful business. Actually, I got my paraphernalia on now. The book is Mommypreneur. Actually, I got the book right here. The book is called Mommypreneur.
I have it too.
So, yay! So that's just one of my books. And it's on Audible. So you can go to Audible and type in Mommypreneur, and you can actually listen to the book now in my voice and the children's voice, because we all recorded the book together. So you can go on Audible and get Mommypreneur, or you can find me. I'm Autrina Tillman. If you you can just Google my name and you can find all my stuff. My books, my website. I'm the founder of a grant. I give away $3,000 a quarter and $10,000 a year to small businesses. So you can apply for my grant. It's called Out of Excuses Grant. But again, if you Google me, you'll find all that stuff. So me being in this insurance industry and financial wealth building industry for so long made me want to pay it forward and show other business owners. And I work with everybody, but melanated people just have my heart, because this is just not a kitchen table discussion for us growing up.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that we are educated and that we know that we all put our pants on the same way. So if one person was able to become a millionaire, you're able to become a millionaire too. If one person was able to create generational wealth for their children and grandchildren, so are you. Most of the time, it's just principles that you don't know, and it's discipline and it's structure to help you get there. So, I just use all my gifts that God gave me to help me to go out and pay it forward and teach others. And so with the insurance business, with the coaching business, with the philanthropy and the grants and all the things that I do, I sleep really good at night because I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose. And then just to have great friends, because we turn up sometimes too, going to DR for my birthday in just a couple of weeks. So, to have phenomenal friends. You don't have to be boring and stuck up and sedity to be wealthy.
Right.
So you can still be a good old country, down to earth girl,
Right.
with a garden and grounding and doing all the stuff that we do. I'm not ever going to change,
Right.
but you can do all that stuff comfortable with money.
Amen.
So, yeah.
So, Trina, tell the people how they can find you.
Okay.
Because I know my people need life insurance and they need to be educated. So
Mm-hmm.
tell them a little bit more of where they can find you. Give all your socials and everything you want them to know.
So on social media, of course, you can send me a message on social media. You can just type my name in, Autrina Tillman. That's Autrina, Tillman with 2 L's. Or you can go to Be Intentional with Autrina and you can find me. My website is beintentionalwithautrina.com for my coaching business, or TillmanGRP.com for my insurance company. So that's TillmanGRP.com for my insurance company. You can send me a message on there, do an inquiry, request a consultation, and you'll be able to get to me there. And if all else fails, like I said, you can Google. If you Google me, I think I take up like the first 5 pages of Google if you Google my name. So if you Google me, if you don't catch anything else today, you'll be able to find everything about me on Google, even the grant. Make sure you go to, if you have a small business or nonprofit, make sure you go to Outa Excuses. That's OUTTA excuses.com. Or you can Google Outa Excuses Grant and it'll come up as well. And like I said, we just gave away $3,500 on April 30th. And the next deadline for the grant is June 30th. And it's rolling. We give away this money every single quarter. So if you're a small business or nonprofit, you can get this very simple to get it. You don't even have to tell us where the money is going once we give you the money. You just have to show us the need and the desire and what you're going to do for yourself in the community when you apply for the grant. Okay, so make sure you go there and apply for the grant. It's free money. If you need me for insurance, I do life insurance, I do health insurance, I do investment insurance. So if you need me for any type of insurance education, I'm a speaker. If you need me to speak at your event, if you need me to be on your podcast, I have several topics. You can email me or text me and I can send you my media kit. So if you need me as a speaker, to do a women's event, to do a nonprofit, to do anything like that, anything generational wealth building or strategic business, anything like that, you can find me and I can do that for you.
Okay. Well, Trina, thank you so much for coming on PH Balance Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Educating us, because
yes, ma'am.
Our people really, everybody needs to know about this. Mm-hmm. But I feel like our people are the ones that do not know about life insurance and the importance of having it. So that's why I wanted to have you come on. And like I said, reach out to her because she gonna tell you something, okay? She gonna learn you, okay? So Trina, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I am so grateful to be able to be on here and share knowledge with you. And I do this all day long. You know I will.
All day. We didn't have enough time today for Trina to.
We will be back.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that button down below. And tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you guys get some life insurance. And we're out.
Deuces.